Okay. Now I ask Dr. Zoltán to present the ideas already underlined.
Thank you, Professor Ozonu, and also thank you, Professor Mishra, for inviting me to this Café talk. It's a pleasure to have this presentation, and I'd like to share my screen with the PowerPoint. So first of all, I would like to have a very short introduction about our research institute. This is a network type institute in our university. Actually, it's unique in the country because it is involving many faculties, and in this way we can do transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary research in the field of disaster management. I'm also proud that we could work together for a long time with national authorities, such as the General Inspectorate for Emergency Situations, Ministry of Environment, and so on, in different projects, such as also the National Risk Assessment Project, the raw risk, so-called raw risk, and because we are a member of this working group for disaster risk reduction in the National Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, we had this opportunity to develop two of the main risk fields, Seveso and transportation risks, and hopefully in the near future we will also have the opportunity to go further with this national risk assessment in the next raw risk 2 project. Very shortly about the national risk profile. So actually Romania's population and economy are exposed to a series of risks such as natural hazard, biological and technological hazard related risks, and according to the GRI index, Romania ranks at 126 out of 191 countries. And there were 101 natural disasters reported in this 120 years period, affecting a lot of people and causing a very big damage. Our national risk assessment was focusing on 10 priority hazards. This was the risk assessment was made between 2016 and 2018. And now, actually, it would be the time to redevelop the risk assessment. We have been together with the Technical University of Bucharest, actually, the only two academic institutes involved in the project. So the other institutes were national level research institutes. So we are proud that we could contribute. As you can see, the risk matrix, the one of the most problematic risks is the earthquake risk, which actually is endangering the building stock and infrastructure which are vulnerable to seismic risk. It is estimated that about 35% of Romanian housing units need urgent repairs. And a lot of education infrastructures are vulnerable to these earthquakes. In numbers, we have more than 9,000 schools which are subjected to very vulnerable, so highly vulnerable buildings. But of course, we can add here buildings such as healthcare facilities, social infrastructure, cultural heritage buildings, and so on. Also, the main building of the first responders from the General Inspectorate for Emergency Situations is one of these buildings. So in case of a big earthquake, such as the one in 1977, actually we can have some serious problems. I put here just one image to show how were the effects of this earthquake. Now, related to Romania's legal framework, it has been reformed actually in the last period. So in 2021, Romania approved the National Plan for Disaster Risk Management. This plan actually is more focused on seismic risks, flood, landslides, but lacking in technological risks, for example. So we still have something to do. Then in 2020, the General Inspectorate signed a contract with World Bank for the development of the National Disaster Risk Reduction Strategy. And I'm proud that together with our colleagues from the Institute, we could work on this strategy on different fields, such as the technological risks or forest fires, floods, and risk communication. So again, thanks for my colleagues in supporting this work. And then, of course, this strategy is covering those 10 priority hazards that have been identified in the Raw Risk Project, but also including others such as climate change related problems, environmental pollution, critical infrastructure protection, social resilience, and so on. In terms of priority and thirst areas in disaster risk reduction, in Romania, I was trying to make synthesis based on the Sendai framework priority areas, and to give some examples of our work, my personal work, and also my young research colleagues. So we made, for example, in the field of NATEC risk assessment for some of the priority hazards, different studies, such as general qualitative identification of potential NATEC risks for Seveso establishments at the national level, and then more detailed risk assessment. These are site-specific. So one of these studies is to identify which are the Seveso establishments which can be actually affected by different types of natural hazards, such as earthquakes and floods. We can see here on the map those establishments, and then we also made in this study a qualitative index, an NATEC index, and this actually will be the basis for the next Raw Risk project to select some of the most important NATEC case studies that will be further developed in detail. Then I put here two of the detailed NATEC risk assessments. One was made during a PhD thesis of one of our colleagues about landslide hazard affecting major gas transportation pipelines. So some key findings were that the individual risk, it was acceptable actually for the population, but the economic losses could be prevented by a detailed NATEC risk assessment when the routes of the pipelines are chosen. Another case study was focusing on the seismic risk in highly populated area in the southern part of Romania. And actually we can see that the individual risk curves are overlapping residential area already. So the residential area is about 20 meters from the refinery's tank farm. So neither the individual and social risk are acceptable. This is one of the key findings. And then land use planning was not considered at that time when the residential area was built. And another finding that the NATEC scenario was increasing the risk with at least one order of magnitude. And then related to priority area 2, strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk, we have made different case studies such as land use planning and urban planning studies based on different risk assessment methodologies. So we compared the risk-based methodology and consequence-based methodology, and try to give some recommendations for authorities to change the land use planning policy, actually, which is creating now a lot of problems at national level for Seveso establishments, because it is based only on the determination of physical effects and not individual and social risk values. And another study, which is actually still, it is a publication still under revision in Sustainable Cities and Society, is focusing more on the urban development plans and assessing the sustainability related concepts in these urban development plans at the national level. We can see that we have analyzed 12 topic categories which are entering in the sustainability big topic, and one of these was the hazards and risks topic. And our key findings were that there is a very low proportion of online accessibility of public documents such as urban development plans and other strategic documents. And then related to risk, the risk term was formally recognized as important by the urban development legislation. The frequency of search terms for major hazards such as earthquake, floods is high. Just in a few words about our method. So we applied a word searching method in these documents and automated. And then, of course, for some very important terms such as risk reduction, we have made also in all of these documents a detailed search, and we have found out that its frequency is high and it has a high sustainability potential. And then among topics such as society, culture, economy, health, also the hazards and risks had a high sustainability score. But another finding is that the Romanian strategic culture is more a reactive one than a proactive. So this points out actually a lack in the safety culture. So we still have a lot to do in this area. And then some research projects that have been conducted and finalized recently, such as the Danube TMF project, focusing in the capacity development to improve the safety of these TMFs. And of course, one of the objectives was to improve the already existing methodology for safety assessment of TMFs, and then to have a Danube region ranking of TMFs in terms of hazard and risk. And the third objective was a training for authorities, a trainer of trainers type training for authorities to use this methodology at national level. I can say that it was a big success because the General Inspectorate for Emergency Situation is now using the methodology, and together with the Romanian waters, they are analyzing these TMFs. So the project has also its sustainability. We can see one picture from our training, which was taking part in Baia area, where this historical accident took place in 2000. And it was one of the biggest environmental pollution in Europe with tailings. Another important project was the common development of volunteer disaster intervention capability. I can mention that me and some of my colleagues, we are also acting as volunteers in a team which was trained also in the framework of the European civil protection mechanism. So I think it is very important also to combine the research and the volunteer activities and our knowledge to help in case of disasters, and of course together with authorities to find better and the more efficient solutions for emergency interventions. And now related to disaster risk reduction research in Romania, we have a national strategy for research development and innovation for this period 2014-2020, which was of course developed in European context. This strategy has these 4 specialization areas, in which in the second area we have also the emergency management mentioned as a key topic for societal security. But the problem is that actually there is no database, national database with research programs. So it is very hard to find those research projects that have been carried out in the framework of this emergency management topic. Although Romania benefits from the existence of this strategy, there are no dedicated budget lines actually to support the activities of key sectors and priority research identified in the strategy. So this can be seen as a potential missed opportunity actually to make progress in building of Romania's scientific knowledge and research base. Nevertheless, Romania benefited EU funds and for research and development, and the projects have been developed in different hazard and risk sectors, as we also did in our research institute. I still think that it is the research and development for disaster risk reduction is under financed. So I think we still have to work on this topic together to find more financing. As future research opportunities for our group and also for my personal views, assessing legislative and institutional gaps in land use and urban planning in relation with hazards and risks. Detailed, I would like to continue the work with the sustainability urban development plans with a detailed focus on hazard and risk topics and key terms, and to overlap these development plans using GIS techniques with the national risk assessment studies, and to draw some conclusions. And then, of course, detailed identification and assessment of NATEC risks for our Seveso establishments. We have more than 250 Seveso sites in Romania, so we still have a lot to work on this. A national level risk assessment focusing on multi-hazard and multi-risk and NATEC approach. Actually, this will be one of the scope of the next national risk assessment. Identification of different areas with land subsidence, landslides, and other potential major accidents with major pollution from past mining activities. Some areas in Romania have this potential, and they are actually like some time bombs waiting to an accident to happen. Identification of high impact, low probability, and black swan type events. It is not really specific for Romania to have these type of assessments. Only for nuclear industry we have such studies, but not for chemical or other pollution related fields. And development, of course, of safety culture through education programs and emergency preparedness exercises together with authorities. So this would be again one of our key topics. We through the European Civil Protection Mechanism, we could already participate in different education programs and exercises. Also, we organized in our university some tabletop exercises. So it was a real pleasure to do that, and hopefully we can continue in the future. Thank you for your attention. This would be my presentation. I hope I didn't
Thank you very much.